What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Powerhouse Mentality Podcast. I am your host. I am Caitlin Kenneth Smith, and today I'm joined by Justin Hall, the creator of Supplement Snoop and the founder of MyQ Brain Food. And this conversation goes way deeper than just ingredients on a label. We talk about the reality of building products in the supplement industry, why experience and consistency matter way more than perfect formulas, how ghosts change the energy drink game, and why brain health and longevity deserve way more attention. This episode is for anyone who wants a smarter, more honest take on supplements, fitness, and building something that actually lasts. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode. Justin, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. This is not meant to be a brag, but
I mean, I got raspberry cream, so I guess I'm kind of happy about that.
I grabbed it and I was like, oh, see, this just looks kind of mean. I tried to look into sending you one for today, but like I said, it was like $50.
I was like, I would actually never ask somebody to send me an energy drink for $50.
Well, but the other thing too is UPS, I don't even think it would have actually got here, like even if you do overnight sometimes. So, but anyway, we're energy drinked up, and this is fantastic, by the way.
Yeah. How does it rank amongst your ghosts?
So I would put it, orange cream has always been kind of my number one. I'm like an orange cream type person, but I would put this number one.
Yeah. I feel like it's going to be like that. I've tried the BCAA, so like I have a good idea of what it's going to taste like. Plus the Welch's grape is just it's so accurately done. It blows my mind every time I drink it.
Well, I think, I don't know if you've ever heard me talk about this, but I grew up right near where Welch's started.
Oh, wow.
They have a place based in Northeast Pennsylvania, which is maybe like 10 minutes from where I grew up. So Welch's was always kind of a big deal, like as a kid. And then when they came out with the Welch's collab, the nostalgia, I was fired up anyway. This is actually better, I think, than the regular version. So
I can see it being better. And the one gripe I have about the regular Welch's is I really have to be in the mood for it, because it can be like pretty sweet, which is what Welch's grape juice is. So they nailed it.
Right.
But I feel like the cranberry, the tartness, it kind of just gives it a little bit more,
Well, like whenever I have the grape one now, I don't know what it is, but like it tastes great, and then it kind of lingers around for a little bit, and it's not as bad, but the aftertaste is like a little bit weird to me sometimes. So when I have this one, when that kind of different aftertaste kicks in, the cranberry takes it over. So you finish with the cranberry, it's pretty damn good.
The unfortunate part of any ghost that I love is that it's always limited edition.
True.
Yeah, that's like raspberry cream has been my number one. And I just got 2 cases because I was warned that it's limited, and I should have known, should have known.
Yeah. And I think like that's a whole conversation about what you see in the supplement space too, where you have pre-workouts or whatever it is, where people always want something new, right? Mm-hmm. So rather than people changing the pre-workout, they're like, well, it was actually Alpha Lion that I thought it was genius. They started doing the pre-workout of the month flavors. I don't know if you remember that.
That's actually really smart. That's something that I've thought about for Ghost does that with where they did it with like shakers and stuff. And I love that doing it with a pre-workout, it makes that excitement every single month. So if somebody loves the pre-workout and they want something exciting, they're going to purchase every month.
Right. Because even if you like Alpha Lion's pre-workout, right, you're still that we're going to go try a different pre-workout at some point, probably the next month. But when they started doing that, I mean, it's a hard thing to pull off, if you're a brand. But when they started doing that, I was like, that's super smart, because it keeps people coming back to buy your product when they're likely just, not that you're bored of it, but you just want to try different stuff. Pre-workouts have no real loyalty. So how you get loyalty for it is just coming up with new flavors. So I feel like when they started doing that, and other brands started doing the same thing, but it's just so hard from a logistics point of view to to get those things launched all the time. So I don't know how it goes.
I couldn't imagine how that works because I've like dabbled in like formulating my own pre-workout and seeing all of the stuff that goes into that. It blows my mind that somebody would be like, let's just do a monthly pre-workout. I'm like, I guess once you nail the formula and all you have to do is the flavor system, if you have a good flavor system person, it can be a really easy task, but still crazy. And Ghost just like puts them out like crazy.
Well, so like to tangent there, when you say dabbled in making a pre-workout, how did that or what's that like?
So, as far as like how did it start or what is it like actually doing it?
Yeah, I mean like what I mean because everybody wants to formulate their own
Oh
pre-workout.
yeah.
What I usually do is I probably talk more people out of doing it than talk them into it. But
I
you
feel like
already,
at this point I have as well because I've tried it twice in my life. The
yeah,
first time was back in like 2019. I was managing gyms and
mm,
I always loved supplements. And it was always like, what if
sure,
I made my own supplement company?
sure, why not?
Right? Duh, that makes sense. And then you actually look into the logistics of it and you're thinking, okay, I need 15 grand to get 150 units of this like expensive, like, this is how I want it formulated so that it's the best on the market. And then you're also like, well, who am I going to sell this to? Right. So there's just like it sounds better on paper than it actually is. So if you actually want to create your own supplements, for those of you who are listening, please be super passionate about what you're doing and actually want to get into the business because it's not just like, ooh, I made my own pre-workout. It's there's logistics. But it's a cool experience to be able to look at all that because I'm like an ingredient nerd. So looking at all the different ingredients and being like, how can I stack this? And then looking at how expensive it is to make what you actually want. And
Yeah,
it makes you realize and appreciate the brands who do it right because you know how expensive that is.
yeah, not only expensive, but like what you're saying, going back to the ghost, the energy drink thing, like when we were talking about the BCAA, right? So the
Mm-hmm.
BCAA was phenomenal, but like I didn't know this when I first kind of got into space, but I mean, a lot of those amino acids, leucine in particular, they taste terrible. Methionine, like some
Yep.
companies didn't even put methionine in their product because it tastes so bad. So when you have to cover that stuff up, when we when I talk to people about certain ingredients, is now no one's really gonna because everyone makes good formulas right now.
Mm-hmm.
So what separates you? It's going to be the flavor. And there's some ingredients, people will send me this like really cool formula on paper. And I'm like, that thing you're trying to use there is like, it's going to ruin any kind of flavor. So you have to balance, the customer experience with what you think is cool with the price versus whatever else is out there kind of deal. So it's a lot. It's a lot going on.
Yeah, that was definitely one thing too. Is we did a couple different samples, and I remember the first sample. It was like a pineapple strawberry lemonade. That was the flavor I wanted to go with. And I took a sip of it and almost like spit it out everywhere because of how woo it was not good. And then we started like tweaking it and it eventually got really good to the point where I was like, if I were to launch this, it would be this, but not there yet. And it just again makes me appreciate the flavoring system
Right.
people so much more.
Well, I think it sounds like you were kind of like similar to me, where I years ago, you kind of get into this whole thing and learn about the ingredients, like
Mm-hmm.
supplement nerd kind of thing. And you just have no idea what you're talking about when it comes to certain things until you see it sort of up
Mm-hmm.
close, like obviously. But like if you have like what you're saying, even doing 150 units right now, good luck finding a manufacturer that'll do that. And if you do order 150 units, the price per unit is going to be so expensive.
Yeah.
You're like, well, okay, great. Now I have to charge $80 for this pre-workout. And
Yeah. And that's going to go over really well in the market.
right, good luck when you have to compete with so many other companies. But yeah, yeah, you have like what you said, you have to really, really, really want to do it.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like when people open gyms because
Oh,
they like
yeah, can't
fitness.
imagine.
I'm
Yeah.
like, I will, that is one thing I will absolutely never do in mine. People ask me that all the time. Would you ever open your own gym? Because I manage gyms and stuff. Absolutely not. Because I've managed gyms, so I know what goes into it. And I do not want to live at the gym. No, thank you.
Well, that was like I've told that to people many. I was like, I will never make a pre-workout. And when I say that, it's not that I never would, but it would have to be for a few of us had talked about maybe collabing and doing something for like charity or something like that. But to
Hmm.
make an actual pre-workout brand, no, thank you.
Yeah.
I bless the people that want to try to do it, but I have no interest in.
Which kind of goes into you started your own product. Now it's not a pre-workout, it's a brain multivitamin in a sense,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So, but before MyQ ever existed, what originally pulled you into the supplement space in the first place?
Oh gosh.
Going down the rabbit hole now.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've talked about that. How do I keep this on the rails? Because there's so many threads to pull at when I think about this stuff. But so basically, this would have to be, it's like probably like 10 years ago. I was just doing my career, had, doing life stuff, right? But really started to get into, I always had worked out, but didn't really know the ins and outs and kind of
Mhm.
followed along with some social media stuff then, but not really. But was always kind of into fitness, but didn't know like the full details. So I started to really get serious about it. And I started to learn more about food, right? Like, shocker. And then about some of these ingredients, I was buying whey protein tubs and stuff like that. And I remember the one day, like literally, this is how it started. I'm looking at a tub. It was like Optimum Nutrition, like gold protein,
The
right?
classic.
Right, just like we all bought. And I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at the other ingredients section, and I'm going, I don't even know what the hell this stuff is.
Hmm.
Like, is this even good? Like, is this healthy? So anyway, I was kind of in that mode where I was learning more about food and the ingredients that are going in our bodies and stuff. So I looked a couple things up, just did the quick Google search, and I was like, because I think people were starting to like raise red flags and starting to say like really crazy things. And I'm like, all right, I don't really listen to other people. Like I mean, I'll hear it, but then I want to go look for myself kind of deal.
Right.
So I started looking some of this stuff up. I was like, this stuff is good for you. I was like, I don't know what these people are kind of talking about, but I said, it was like I said, full-time career and doing a lot of different stuff. I was like, I don't have time for this kind of deal. So I said, there's got to be an app for where you can just like scan this thing and it'll tell me everything about all these ingredients that are in this product. So I went on the app store and I'm looking around and there's nothing there. And I'm like, that's weird. I was like, because I feel like that's a good idea because I'm standing there going, I wish there was an app for this. There's an app for everything, right?
Right.
So I'm like, well, I feel like there should be an app for this. And I'm like, I have no idea what that entails. I don't know how to code. I don't know anything about app making, and I don't know anything about supplements. So if anybody takes anything away from this podcast, it's you don't need to know anything to get started. You
It's
just
such a great point too to highlight. And I think like what you that story you just told right there, it literally just points out that you are an entrepreneur through and through because you saw a problem in your life and immediately were, okay, what's the solution? How can I create a solution? Not just like, oh, that sucks. I wish that existed and walked away, which is what most people do.
yeah, or like say, hey, somebody needs to do this,
Yeah.
or go on social media and tell you like, why don't you make like? I'm just like, well, but so I literally had to Google how to make an app. You know, I got totally
And
screwed.
that was before Chat GPT. You couldn't just be like, Chat GPT,
Oh,
tell me
way
what to
before.
do.
Yeah, way. I totally got screwed over by the first company that I
Of
gave
course.
to. They tried to make the app for me. Uh, I write them a check and they get started and everything's cool. And then next thing you know, they're ghosting me and all this other stuff. And then next thing you know, their doors are like shut. And apparently they did this to a whole bunch of people. And I was like, wow, that sucked because, I had a good job and everything, but I'm like that. So a lot of that, you finally do something, you finally take the step and then you walk into and you get totally screwed over.
Hmm.
I'm like, yeah, but I really think this should be a thing.
Yep.
So
You have to kind of be a little bit just like
it'd be a stubborn
hard-headed,
ass.
stubborn in order to actually be successful because there are going to be so many moments on any journey where you're thrown shit basically like that and you just have to take it, learn from it, move on, try again.
Well, and you hear that stuff all the time, and until you really, you try to give people advice sometimes, but I kind of am in that mode where you learn so much from just the process. Like ultimately,
Mm-hmm.
what comes from it is great, but the process of everything, because this was totally outside of, very much like grow up, you do the job. I had the forever home, married, 2.5 kids, kind of whole path kind of going on. So once you start to do something like outside of this, you realize like, oh, this is really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of times where, yeah, that whole cliche where it's like, yeah, well, I couldn't, but I'm like, no, I really think this should be a thing. I ended up getting connected with another app developer who they were phenomenal. And they told me, they were like, I mean, I'm sure you could do it a lot different now, but one of the things I have against ChatGPT and the AI, which is a whole other thing, but if you, they were like, okay, we're going to create this database and input these barcodes and you're going to scan them and it's going to tell everything about this product. They're like, but you're going to have to do the like inputting of the data unless you want to pay us to do it, which would cost $1 million.
Yeah.
I was like, all right. I was like, well, how hard can this be, really? So I started to build this database. I was because I was working, I was going to school at the same time, like night school, and then I would come home and I was doing this database. And the first thing I did was go to bodybuilding.com and I looked at the first product. It was like a pre-workout that I had used, at the time. And I'm like, okay, what is citrulline? I realized right away I couldn't copy and paste because the internet definition, first of all, the first 100 results you got for citrulline were from supplement companies. And I was like, I don't want them to tell me what it is. I want to know what it is. But then I'm like, well, the definition they're giving me doesn't help. Like, because I
Yeah.
don't understand what it means, you know? So I'm like, all right. So I research citrulline and I'm like, now how do I translate this into something someone would understand?
Mm-hmm.
So I do that and I feel pretty good about it after a few hours. I'm done with citrulline and I'm like, all right, beta alanine. And then like, so 2 weeks later, you get done with the first pre-workout. And I'm like, all right, cool. Next product. There's 47 different ingredients in there than the first one. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the stupidest. I was like, so this is why this is not a thing. Because who's dumb enough to do something like this?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's crazy though, because I'm sure you learned a lot about citrulline and beta alanine along the way.
Like I'm saying there. And then when you're able to like put that stuff together. So eventually I literally sat there every night for hours, uh, just doing this, building this database. And eventually we launched the app and it was a much different version than the one that we have now,
Mm-hmm.
which is a whole other thing. Like, don't make an app. It's just it's a total nightmare. But the whole thing about um, the information and all that other stuff, like what I got from the process, was definitely the most valuable part. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's like anything in life is if you were to just snap your fingers and be given whatever you want, like your goal, your dream, your app created, you would probably lose it or not even be able to enjoy it, or you wouldn't be able to be successful in it, such as somebody who wins the lottery and then they're bankrupt a few weeks later because they weren't taught lessons along the way of how to actually manage their money properly. It's the same thing with any sort of journey. You weren't taught during the process of how to actually maintain the results or all the lessons that you learn along the way.
Yeah, all that stuff, all those fortune cookie cliche things I read on the internet that I make fun of, are pretty true.
It's funny because
Pretty
every time
true.
I say something like on a podcast or like in real life, like that sounds so cliche, but why is it so true?
It's so true. But then like so the whole process of learning about that, and then because like I've told people on here before, like I didn't know not a single person, not a single brand, not a single anything about the supplement space or even the fitness industry in general
Yeah.
when I launched, which is also, that's really dumb because if you don't have any kind of built-in network, that whole like if you build it, they will come thing, that's so not true. Because like, yeah, you built it and you think so. Back to the beginning, like, all right, you did the thing, you did the heart, you did it, and then you release this thing, and there's nobody there to buy it or know that you did it. So I'm like,
Hmm.
all right, well, it's too late now to turn
Yeah.
back. So that's I didn't even have social media at the time when we launched.
That's even more crazy because most people, now they are on social media, they're an influencer, whatever you want to call them, and
Yeah,
then they launch a product and
exactly.
it sells because they just
That's
have
the way to do
millions
it.
of people. That is the way to do it, right?
That is,
Live
don't
and
do it.
learn.
Don't do it my way. Definitely do it that way. Where um, social media then, I mean, it really has changed so much. But
Oh, it
I just
has.
remember like my friends using Facebook, and they were so fake. And then like we'd be hanging out, and they were on their phones or were on the computers, like on Facebook. I was like, what are we doing here? Like,
It is interesting to have grown up in this age where like you grew up and the only social media was like MySpace and then Facebook appeared, but
mhm.
nobody was on their phone the way that they are today. And now you see kids walking around, they're just heads down attached to the screen. It's kind of sad at the same time, but also kind of cool the way it connects us. There's like highs
Yeah.
and lows to it, of course.
Oh yeah. I'm definitely not one of those people where like I'm older now and like these kids and their phones.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think it's my generation of people that actually I see the biggest problem with because
Yeah.
we have kids and I see parents like people my age that are stuck on their phones, and I'm like, and then you just kind of are passing those habits down a little bit. But I was never into social media. I saw it in such a negative light
Hmm.
when I first saw it. But then, fast forward to like what you're saying, I'm glad I grew up without it because
Hmm.
it's a little easier to navigate when you're not born into it, I would say.
I feel like people have better socializing skills compared to the generation coming up now because we know how to talk to people face to face better than depending on how that child grew up, of course.
Oh yeah, yeah. But like the whole like seeing it kind of like come about and knowing now just you're like, wait a minute, I know that's not true. I know because like when you see people, I say this a lot, like people will ask me about following people online or like listening to podcasts. And I was like, I don't really follow that many people that I've never like met
Hmm.
because I just have always like you get that sense that I'm like I don't really know the whole story here. So people like fall in love with influencers and whatever and following, which is great because you do learn a lot of stuff. I was like, but I really like to meet people first. It's just kind of old school like that because you're just not really sure how someone really is until you meet them.
Yeah, that's so true. I've met so many people on social media who portray themselves one way, and then I meet them, and you get disappointed almost because you created this character, and or they created the character, right? And it's not even that person, and it makes you realize how how is this like everything that I'm seeing on social media? Is everything fake?
Yeah, yeah, and then it feels
That
like it
is.
is. So that's why it's like going through that whole process, and then what really helped me was connecting the dots. Where actually, I would say like the first person that really helped me understand supplements to a better level was Tim. He works over at Natural Body Inc.
Hmm.
Because there was a science aspect of things, but then you start to understand the customer experience with supplements.
Yes.
Like I've told people this a lot, where if I would have launched a supplement, say 5, 6 years ago, it would have been totally different than the one that I did eventually launch. And it probably, I would say 99.9% sure it would have failed.
Hmm.
I would have eventually come up with the thing I have now, probably, or something similar. But what I thought then had like how a supplement had to look for whatever person. It's true in some ways. Yes, a product should have certain things. It should look certain ways, should cost certain things. But at the end of the day, the when you talk to enough people and you really talk to them and really like understand how they're using certain things to help their lives, you that stuff about how it has to have this amount of this and this and this to be a good pre-workout or to be a good anything, it kind of you realize that's just kind of not how it works.
Yeah, because there are so many brands out there who I would consider like more premium in the dosing and the ingredients in formulas. And if I were to talk to somebody walking around on the street who knew nothing about supplements, they would probably have never heard of them. Even
Mhm.
people who like, oh, I go to Vitamin Shop and I buy the protein powder or whatever, they probably only heard of like Ghost and Rise and all of these other brands who there's nothing wrong with those brands, but there are other brands out there who are doing cooler things when it comes to like a formula standpoint, but because
Mhm.
they don't have that experience that like Ghost creates, for example, like Ghost creates an experience with their products and people love that experience, which makes them keep coming back. So people just look at supplements and they think formula, flavor, got it. But that's not all that it's come down to.
Yeah, I actually had there was a really eye-opening comment that I remember years ago because when you first kind of get into the supplement science part, you connect with other people that are obviously the same way. And it's usually a smaller brand that doesn't have, because they don't have the money for marketing,
Mm-hmm.
you spend it on the product, right? So there was a lot of like smaller, more science-based, whatever you want to call it. I hate when people say they're
Science-based lifters.
clinical or whatever. That's such, it's
If
just,
I throw the word clinical in there, it just makes it sound
it's
better.
so cringe. But like, anyway, there was a kid that he had a brand, and I also um, know the guy. He's the CEO over at BPI, one of the phenomenal guys in our space. And I remember we were all having this conversation. And the kid at the smaller brand said, he's like, I'll never trash like a BPI or an animal or one of these like big legacy brands. He goes, because they're doing all the heavy lifting, bringing these people into the space. He goes,
Truth.
my job is I'll try to show them something different. Like those
Mm-hmm.
people, he's like, but they're the only reason why our space exists is these bigger. He's like, so I'm not gonna sit here and like launch pre-workout and be like, oh, look at these, shit big brands. He's like, this is better. So he's like, that was always something that kind of stood out because I never really thought about that at the time. I'm like, yeah, these places that are super popular, yeah, you can go in there and nitpick some of the formulas or whatever, but they're bringing in all this massive amount of people every single day. So eventually because cost of customer acquisition is what everyone's biggest problem is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if Bucked Up is bringing in all these people, I can overlook their deer velvet for a minute, and just show somebody like an alternative. You don't have to trash a company necessarily. So that was definitely another thing that I changed my stance on over the years of, I remember trashing like Optimum Nutrition, like Amino Energy, and be like, what is this proprietary blended, nonsense? But at the same time, it's like there's some perspective in there.
Yeah, I think that's with everything. It truly is like I love how that was worded because those big brands, even if there's some products that maybe you are like, oh well, this could be done better. Well, they're bringing people into the fitness space. They're helping people be more aware of okay, maybe I should pay attention to my health. Maybe I should pay attention to my training and my performance and stuff. It's similar to anything. When I used to work in gyms, we were kind of competitive with Planet Fitness because our price point was pretty similar, but we offered a lot more amenities. And I'd have a lot of my salespeople who would legit be like trashing Planet Fitness during their presentation.
Right.
I'm like, they mentioned Planet Fitness because Planet Fitness was what caught their eye with their advertising, and then they looked around and saw, oh, well, there are other opportunities. So you trashing another company that somebody is using makes them feel stupid for choosing that company, so they're immediately turned off by you.
That's a really good point. That was definitely another thing that I learned some perspective over the years too was, if you have to trash another brand or person or company or whatever to try to make yourself look good, then I just think that's that's not an approach. And like I said, I try to keep myself in check all the time. There's definitely some times where you're like, listen, this this sucks, okay? This place is ripping people off.
Yeah, and that's
But
like the difference. If somebody is like doing something morally incorrect, then
exactly.
problem.
I've always been I tried to be more of a person that says I don't want to tell someone the answer for something because and I think people think I'm being difficult sometimes. I'm like, but what I be doing, it goes back to like the app building thing or like what you were talking about, where it's like if you rob someone of the process of like discovery,
Mm-hmm.
really you're robbing them of because I get it, everyone wants to be efficient and optimal and get to point A to point B as quick and as effortless as possible. But the distance in between point A and point B, you're learning so much about everything. So you're standing there at point B, you're like, well, now I'm here, but I don't really understand how I got here. So
Mm-hmm.
you didn't learn anything.
And you appreciate it so much more. Like when I first started in fitness like 12 years ago, and I would go to Vitamin Shop or GNC and look at all the proteins and pick optimum nutrition and have that and just be fine with it and be like, oh, it kind of hurts my stomach. But, that's just how whey protein is supposed to be, right? And then you start to explore different brands and you realize, oh, there are better options. So I'm learning along the way of, okay, this works for me. This doesn't. This clearly has better ingredients based on how it makes me feel. And it builds a deeper perspective, I think, towards the industry as a whole.
Yeah, and it's I mean, you being in a gym environment too, same kind of deal where I remember like years back, I would get men's health and whatever every month. And this is before it was really crazy, online with fitness information. But I just remember even as a young kid reading these magazines from month to month. And I'm like, you said last month that this was the best way to do things. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
and this month is different. And it was confusing then. And I'm like, oh, wait, they got to do that to keep me reading the magazine, right? So
Mm-hmm.
then now the way things are now, it's just that times, a billion where it's like, well, I have to keep someone coming back every single day or every single
Mm-hmm.
hour or whatever it is. So what are you going to say? What are you going to talk about? Like,
Yep. It's just so much more accelerated now, and news travels so much more quickly. So trends come and go much, much more fast, but they always come back around, is what I've noticed. Is like keto, we're good, and then it passes, and then it's like, oh, keto's back. What the hell? Oh, it's the new like magical thing. I saw somebody the other day, and again, it's like all marketing on social media and how you word things and like capturing someone's attention in 3 seconds and fear sells and stuff like that. He's like a CrossFit nutrition coach and he preaches like, we don't track macros. Great, cool, whatever. And that's like his thing. And he was talking about, I discovered this new thing and I've been hiding it from you guys. It's called body recomposition. I was like, body recomposition, bro. Like, that's been around forever. You didn't create this. But there are so many people in the comments who, comment this word and I'll send you this. And it's like
those
blown
are the
up.
worst. I can't stand those
I
people.
wish I could help you people.
Well, one of the things that you just said, about what I always kind of laugh about is so if someone were, and you can just use that as an example for like a million other things, what I see constantly in the fitness space is someone will promote this new, like, well, I don't track my macros. Well, at some point you did.
Correct. You just
Very,
need to show that.
or it's like when you see people like, yeah, this, oh, so and so is a vegan, and look at these. I'm like, yeah, but they got that way from eating 400 pounds of steak every day. Okay, so just because you're this way now doesn't mean for the last 20, 30 years you were completely different way.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to like
Mm-hmm.
present these things. I can't stand people.
I don't,
Don't track
macro
your back.
tracking doesn't work for me, Justin, because I've tried it before and I didn't see results. That I hear that so much. And I'm just like, well, I'm sorry you didn't track your macros correctly. Because if you didn't see results, something's metabolically, hormonally wrong with you and you need to see a doctor, you know?
Right. Yeah, because like I don't track my macro. Like I tell people this all the time now. I don't track my macros, but I do
Right.
because I just eat the same thing I've been eating for like the last like 10 years.
Yeah,
So
and once you track them for a good amount of time, you learn, okay, well, this is what 4 ounces of chicken looks like.
yeah.
These are the calories and macros I feel good at. And you know, but most people just have no idea. If I ask the general American person to pour out a serving of cereal, they probably pour out like four. So they
Mhm.
think, oh, I'm having 100 calories of Cheerios every morning. No, ma'am. You were having like 400 calories of Cheerios every morning.
Right, which is like, so you have to get really crazy about it at some point.
Yes.
And then, like if I were to have a specific goal now, then I would track stuff again. But I don't track because I don't like to, and it just it becomes it makes me not enjoy the process when I do it.
Right.
So
And
I
I think
just don't.
everyone's different, but you have to go through that process in order to earn the ability to be where you're at.
Did it at some point. And so like
Mhm.
now I just try to keep it as simple as possible. Like if I want to add some weight, then I just put another meal into it. And if I want to cut down, then I just remove a meal. It's not that's and that keeps me doing it like consistently for I don't know. I guess I got really serious about it probably like 10 years ago.
Mhm.
Um, but I'd always kind of been in and out of it. But yeah, I just want to keep it as simple as possible. And I don't want to
Yeah,
drive myself crazy. So, but you
that's
have
the
to at
way to
some,
do it.
you have to at some point. Or like, but the workout thing is the same thing where I remember getting into like like whenever you hear like CrossFit versus whatever it is. I think people should just do all of them
Hmm.
and
They
see.
would learn. I had a conversation with my husband once because we were thinking about what if we, because this was like back when we were thinking about things like, what if we had a gym one day and there was like CrossFit and bodybuilding and powerlifting, but then there was like a communal area where they all come together and they can all like do different things. Because the reality is, me myself as a CrossFitter, I would learn so much from doing powerlifting for a little bit. I would learn so much from doing bodybuilding for a little bit because all of these different modalities have something to offer.
Our gym right now is actually kind of like that, and it's really neat.
Mm-hmm.
But right, you'll find something that you enjoy that you're going to stick to, and it gets you excited. But how long is most people going to stick to something like that? So I remember doing because a lot of like the CrossFit movements and the powerlifting movements and stuff, they're pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
Do them in a little bit different ways, but you know, you see people doing whatever they enjoy at the gym, but it's like and people are always afraid to like, what if that's not the perfect way to do it? I was like, you're going to learn something from, and you're going to get something out of it. So just go try it. And
Yeah,
then
you're
eventually, like,
moving. Nothing's perfect.
well, when you have people that whenever your schedule changes or your lifestyle changes or whatever, you're always like right now, I go pretty much every day because I mentally need to, because this is the first time in my life where I've worked from home and you're doing your own business. You can sit here and you can get wrapped up, and I just need to go. Like,
Mm-hmm.
middle of the day, I just pick up whatever I'm leaving. I'm going to the gym, spend a couple hours at the gym, come back between travel and everything, and then come back and you're good to go. Whereas like sometimes you can't do that. So if you only have 2 or 3 days to get to the gym in a shorter amount of time, well, then I'm going to do a different workout,
Mm-hmm.
something that So it's like there's goes to that whole like there's no excuses.
Yep. And there truly is like no perfect plan. The amount and the truth is whatever plan you're going to be consistent with is your perfect plan. Most people just can't be consistent. And that's the reason why so many people fail. Is like I'll have clients who I had a conversation with a client last week and she was like, I feel like I'm gaining weight. I don't feel good about what I'm doing. And almost like I've been coaching her for like 3 years and she was almost like confrontational about it. And I was like, mm-hmm. And I pull up her data and I was like, well, that's weird. You haven't tracked your macros in like 3 weeks. You haven't gone to the gym all but one time. Your sleep has been shit. And then she started to realize slowly, she's like, oh, okay. I'm not being consistent. That's
Mm-hmm.
all we have to do. We just need to be consistent. And that's the secret that people are missing is consistency, whether it be with training or nutrition, or whether it just be like, if you want to create a business, if you want to create this app, you had to go every single night and input that data. It wasn't like one time and then I'll do it again in 2 weeks. It was every
Right.
single day consistently.
Yeah, and that is like I think a lot of it's hard to explain to people that are outside of this little realm, and we kind of take it for granted because most people that are this like consistent and dedicated to certain things, I think most people are kind of wired that way, but they just don't have they haven't found the outlet yet
Yes.
to be like they're consistent with, maybe like Netflix or
Hmm.
following along with someone else, but you haven't found whatever makes you tick, like that is done, for you, like other than that. Because when you go to the gym, I've been around a lot of people that you start working out with them or whatever, and it just doesn't click. And then
Yeah.
then you see someone where it does click, and you're like, that's right.
Hmm.
You
Everybody's
kind of
consistent in something. It's just
right.
sometimes it's not the things that are serving the person that they truly want to become.
Well, and then because then you run into people that if they don't enjoy the process, then they'll never get started on the whole thing. Like I say it all the time. Like I used to be a personal trainer and work with people, and the whole thing where you have the obsession with getting it right before you even walk into the gym.
Hmm.
And you're like, if I could tell you, like, if I could just take what's in my brain and put it in yours, and you would see that none of that matters, like what you're doing that first like couple days in the gym. I tell people this all the time. I say it on my stories all the time. I'm like, if you're trying to get in the gym and you go in there the first day and you love doing bicep curls, do bicep curls every workout for 6 months. I don't care. As long
Hmm.
as you just learn to go every day and you like going, at some
Hmm.
point you'll change. You don't have to worry about how many sets and reps you're doing at the beginning. It's good to have a plan, but you're not going to do anything wrong. Like there's nothing optimal about the whole thing
Hmm.
because you're
It's kind
going
of
to.
like with social media, the way that people in this space, in the fitness and nutrition and supplement space, what they do is they argue amongst themselves as to this is more optimal and this is more optimal. And we're like splitting hairs and it's like sucralose is killing you. No, wait, but this is killing you. At the end of the day, we should stop arguing about that stuff and just start actually teaching, like, hey, you should just move more, whatever that looks like for you. Like go on a 5 minute walk after each meal. That would be great because you do nothing right now, you know?
There was the I see this all the time as well, like because I think people, um if you know a lot about a subject, people, I have these conversations in DMs with people a lot where they're like they're afraid to ask something because it sounds like a stupid question.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that. But like I try to tell people all the time, I'm like, listen, I don't really get anything out of, like, I know some really, really ridiculously smart people in the space, and we can talk about some stuff, but I don't really get anything out of that. Like I don't get much out of arguing over, what step in the urea cycle or what
Yeah.
mechanism of action like that. We spend a lot of time just trying to prove that we know something, or you can
Mm-hmm.
regurgitate what you read somewhere. I was like, but the questions that I always like the most are the dumb questions. Like, hey, what's the best pre-workout?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can literally talk to someone through the process and it gets them to change their whole mindset about something.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, right, what's the best is those simple ones. Whereas if you're arguing with someone over a mechanism of action or something, it's just a lot of wasted effort where you don't really make much progress.
Right.
So it's like in the gym setting, if you're arguing over what angle to use your incline bench, fine, go
Yeah.
ahead. But
But Jeff Nippard said,
right, but the most progress you can make with someone is getting them in the door,
mm-hmm.
enjoying the process in the first place.
Absolutely. Even just getting somebody to lift weights, I think is a huge win. Like, who gives a shit what angle your dumbbell incline is at?
Right. And then like the weightlifting thing is a big deal because I think people get into the gym and they start doing things they don't like. Someone will tell me, yeah, well, I have to start running. I've got to do, because it's healthy for you.
Yep.
But I'm like, if you don't like running, then don't do it. Like, you don't
And
have
the amount of
to.
times I've told people that, like in person as their trainer, be like, if you don't like to run, you don't have to run. And like the smile that comes across, I don't have to run. Like, oh, I thought I had to run. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I've seen better results not running.
Yeah. It's like, sure, it's an efficient way to do things for some people, but yeah, if you don't enjoy the process, then you're just not going to stick to it. And it's one of those cliche things, but the same as taking your supplements or whatever. Um, I just find myself saying all the time, like, as long as you can stick to the plan. I mean, that was the whole concept behind when we launched Brain Food was I was like, I don't want this to be another supplement
Hmm.
where you use it and think it's cool and then set it off to the side, which is going to happen anyway. But I was like, I was driving it into people's brains when we first launched. Like, this is, you take this every day, like a multivitamin. Here's your reminder sticker. We're going to post about it every day
Yep.
because get up, take it, and go on about your business. Because if
Yeah,
you,
when we first were talking about that and you sent me the MyQ stuff and you were like, yeah, I put the magnets in there and the stickers in there so that, like, you put it on your fridge and it's a constant reminder. And I thought that was absolutely genius because it's so true. How many times do you get something and you think, I'm going to take this every day? 3 days goes by and you look at it on the counter and you're just like, oops, I didn't take it 3 days in a row. Oopsies.
yeah,
Like, try again tomorrow.
yeah, and it ties into the whole. I mean, you can make the coolest thing, coolest formula in the world,
Hmm.
but if you can't get anybody to take it or consistently, or if no one hears about it, then you really like I've just seen the amount of bodies littered through the supplement space of brands that had really cool formulas. The brands never very rarely fail because of the formula.
Hmm.
They fail because there's some sort of disconnect there that um problem, or it could be like me. I mean, even all the stuff that I knew, the logistic issue that we ran into where we were out of stock for a while, that's just something that it can happen to anyone. And like
Hmm.
if you are not at least prepared for it in some way or have seen it, then you kind of don't know what to do. That's where brands mostly fail. It's never about having 8 grams of citrulline or 10 instead of 6. It's never the case.
Hmm.
I mean, it's always some sort of supply chain logistics issue that usually trips people up. It's amazing.
Yeah. So, on that topic, how did you make the shift from, okay, I developed this app and now I guess I should like start social media to now I'm creating my own product? How did that kind of transition occur?
That was a really long process, actually, if I think back to it. So how it kind of worked was, um, so made the app and then got onto social media. And what I was doing every day was I was just posting screenshots basically of the old version of the app.
Hmm.
And then I was talking about a product and the ingredients. And it wasn't necessarily like what's good, what's bad. It was just here's what this stuff is. And then I connected with a lot of brands that way, where
Hmm.
a company would see me talking about their product or something like that, and they would reach out. And then you know how it goes, and people just sending you like that was mind blowing to me, was this space how people just send
I
stuff.
know. I still get mind blown every time I get a package. I'm like, I didn't order anything.
The it's a really amazing, and also like other industries. This is like 20 other topics, but other industries could learn a lot about
Hmm.
social media through the supplement space, because brands in the space are so good with social media that sometimes I take it for granted when I see like other industries, and I'm like, wow, yeah, you guys. But I think it's because fitness is so interpersonal, and a lot of brands started at the events, where you're talking to people, so they know how important that connection is,
Hmm.
just even in the smallest ways. But anyway, lots of tangents. But so we started doing that, and I started connecting with a lot of brands, and that was when I really started to learn some differences between how companies approach things, how they were doing things differently. Started learning more about the manufacturing process. There was um, a person that I worked with for a long time. They started talking to me about the real issue in the supplement space was the manufacturing
Hmm.
process. And so we started out, this was years ago, these questions that everyone's starting to ask now. I was asking them a long time ago, and no one cared, to be honest. We were kind of we were too far ahead of the curve there, talking about transparency with
Hmm.
manufacturing.
What year did you start like doing all this on social media?
I guess 2016, it's on that thing.
that
Um,
that was before most. You were like an
there
OG.
was not the only people that I remember. So there was Price Plow was doing a lot of stuff back then,
Yeah.
and Robert, who is supplement engineer. I don't know if you know Robert. He hasn't doesn't do really. Him and I used to do like 3 podcasts a week every time. Anyway, he was doing a lot of educational stuff. He was a really good dude. Price Spot was doing that. They were doing some cool things. I thought like I didn't really watch much, but they were doing some things as far as like weighing out your pre-workout or weighing out
Mm-hmm.
your stuff that I never really thought about.
Yeah.
Um, so they were doing some cool things, and that was right around the same time when Ryan at Fitness Informer started doing his thing. We all were Ryan and I are kind of like pretty similar, but I didn't know anybody. I didn't know
Yeah.
what anyone else was doing. I just started doing my own thing, and yeah, people seem to kind of like it. And then what eventually happened was a lot of brands started reaching out to myself and my former partner of mine about helping them. So we got more into like a consulting aspect of things as far as the business side of things, which wasn't really my part of it. I learned a lot. I learned a lot of what not to do uh,
Yeah.
through that process, seeing where a lot of people unfortunately failed and seeing a lot of, I didn't have to learn it the hard way. So when eventually I did launch my own product, I I knew some things that a lot of people didn't know. So
Mm-hmm.
what happened was it really opened my eyes to wow, I need to know a lot more. I need to have something that I really am passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
So it really did it slowed down the process, but like in a good way where like what you were saying earlier, like, yeah, let's launch a pre-workout because that's fun. And
Yeah.
you can do that, but the chances of it succeeding are going to be pretty low.
Yeah.
Once I saw enough of that, I was like, wow, okay, I really need. I'm not ever going to launch a product until the right sort of circumstances or the right situation kind of presents itself. And I really wasn't sure it ever would.
Mm-hmm.
But then eventually, it was a conversation with my mom actually. So my parents are both fantastic shape. They were always at the gym when I was younger, got me into it. Like I remember my mom when I was little, she would be like, feel my muscle kind of thing, like all the time. Like before it was cool for women to like lift weights, my mom would always like lift weights. So I
That's
started
awesome.
thinking about things for my parents and that type of person, and started thinking more longevity. And we were starting to learn some pretty cool things about brain health, and that's the crazy thing about brain health is we know a lot, but there's so much we don't know, and it's
Mm-hmm.
so the whole thing is so fascinating to me. So that really got me not only something that I was really passionate about above pre-workouts and protein powders and everything, but also a person that I wanted to help. Like my parents are good, but I want to keep it that way.
Yeah.
And so I looked at them and I said, this is a person that I want to help. Because you like a lot of things that we talk about with people that start supplement companies, you say, like, what's your target customer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the everyday gym goer. And you're like, that's not a person.
Yeah. It's not niche enough. You need to actually have somebody in your head that you want to help. Because,
Exactly.
like, I think the most unique thing about your product and how you got into this is most people, when they start a supplement company, they go to the glamorous things: whey protein, pre workout, energy drinks. How can I make these things? But you went, no, what's actually going to help people long term?
Yeah, and it definitely like there's a personality aspect of it with me where I don't like doing what everyone else is doing. I
Which
just
I think gets you far in life. You
I
got to be
just
unique. You can't be a robot like everybody, you know?
I just can't. And also um, a lot of companies that as well. Like I'm really close friends with like guys from Morphogen and Apollon and Core and Ghost, and I'm like they're already making like really cool stuff,
Yeah.
and I love that. And I would rather, for the longest time, I was like I would rather just help people find. I would never say like someone has to take a Morphogen product, right? But they should at least be aware that that stuff is out there so they can look
Mm-hmm.
at it and go, okay, maybe that is something for me. So knowing that those people, I'm like, I don't want to compete with these guys. They're already doing like fun stuff. So I really needed to see something that was also, it's hard to find something unique anymore.
Oh yeah, definitely. Everything's been done at this point.
But what I saw was when everyone started getting to the nootropic space, um, the sports nutrition, I think a lot of products are really good, especially in a here and there sort of use. But when I started to really use a lot of products consistently, I started to notice a lot of negatives.
Hmm.
There's like, I'm like, some of these products is just, it's too much for long-term use. It's too much certain ingredients, at least for me. I was like, I'm starting to notice downsides. And you either had these like fully loaded sports nutrition products, or you had the stuff that you would see ads for on TV, like Nariva, whatever it was. And I'm like, we can do better than this,
Hmm.
especially for the price.
Yeah.
I was like, that thing cost, 75 cents to make. And I was like, and then you have this one that's 60, $70 and introduces some questions that I have like long term about certain things. So I was like, I feel like you kind of don't want to be in the no man's land of things, but I was
Hmm.
like, I saw a little bit of an opportunity to kind of go in there, especially the one capsule thing was what I really wanted, because a lot of people, my target, my mom or whatever, they're not going to take 4, 5, 6, 7 capsules or something.
Yeah.
They're used to taking maybe prescription medications or whatever it is. You want one pill, and trying to come up with something that was good in one capsule and actually could do something without stimulants was a big challenge. So that was probably the biggest thing, was do something a little unique, do something super challenging, super rewarding, and apply some of the things that I had learned sort of over the years of what to do and what not to do. And
Hmm.
when we launched, I didn't intend the product really to be for our space. It just, I didn't really think that it would work.
Hmm.
And then we started to or at least work for the people that are into smart drugs, and everyone
Right.
is on Adderall and all this other stuff these days, and SSRIs, which is no judgments, but it's just a little bit of a different uh, experience that people
Right.
are looking for or expecting. So I was like, I'm going to keep this sort of away from our space. But then we sampled it, and I'm like, damn, this actually does work.
Hmm.
So then that kind of changed my mind about everything. And then people were super receptive to it, way more receptive than I expected. We had to reorder it. I think the day after we launched the capsules, I was like, oh God. I'm
It's
like,
like, this is a problem, but it's kind of a good problem to have, but at the
right,
same
right, right.
time.
It's a good problem to have, but also it's a problem,
Yeah.
especially a product that you want people to take every single day.
Hmm.
You can't run out of stock, and obviously that happened to us eventually, which was a disaster. But um yeah, I don't, it was a course over a course of years of learning all these different experiences, and then ultimately it's sounds, I don't want this to be as arrogant as it would sound, but like that Usain Bolt, he had that quote, or maybe it was Conor McGregor, where they're like, they train years for
Hmm.
one sort of moment to come.
I love that quote. I think, yeah, it was Usain Bolt. He said, I train like 3 years to run like 12 seconds or whatever,
Right.
however fast he fucking runs.
Yeah. So it was like, I woke up the one day and I said, I want to make this a thing. And it was a thing by the afternoon.
Yeah.
But it was years of experience and knowledge and whatever, and working with ins and outs. And I remember I called Joey Savage was at Glaxon at the time, and I was really close with the team over there. They were manufacturing, and I was like, give me a quote on this. I'm gonna make it. And I was like, and it's just gonna happen. So
How long did it take for you to develop the formula?
about 30 seconds. Uh,
Yeah. Were these just like ingredients that you always loved for yourself?
right, exactly, like to the whole point. Um, there was a group of ingredients. So the only thing I really had to think about was what could I fit in a capsule
Yeah.
that could be beneficial at lower dosages.
Hmm.
You don't have much room to play with in one capsule.
Correct.
So over the years, some of the ingredients that I knew B vitamins would be the backbone, like
Hmm.
the good B vitamin forms. Had really liked how Cognitique had at 100 milligrams had felt in a lot of pre-workouts that I had tried. I thought it was adding like a little bit of, well, and that was speaking of Ghost Energy, because Cognitique is Neurofactor.
Hmm.
So we've been using Neurofactor for years, and I always really liked
Right.
it. And then some other things like quercetin, resveratrol. Resveratrol was the one tricky one because resveratrol, the issue has always been its absorption, bioavailability, but also that's why I reached out to Joey. I was like, he has his finger on the pulse of the space a little bit more than I do. I was like, is there a form of this resveratrol that's really cool out there? And he was like, actually. So resveratrol, like my mom, for example, going back to like formulating where my mom knows what resveratrol is because she's probably heard Dr. Oz talk about it.
Probably.
So if she sees that on a label, she knows that that's
Hmm.
inherently a good thing.
Right.
It's another one of those deals where making some, because there's a lot of cool ingredients out there. Sometimes you just have to pick. You have to think about things other than just effectiveness, and because there's a lot of
Hmm.
things that are effective. So it's like, well, does this one connect with people maybe a little bit more? Do people recognize this one? So
That's a great point because like I can use so many different things for a nootropic, but what's something that somebody's going to recognize and be like, oh, I've had that before. I like that. Or, oh, I've heard about that before. Like most people know what alpha GPC is. So if you see it on the back of the label, you're going to think, oh, I know what that is, or I've seen that before versus like this random ass ingredient that's just as effective, maybe slightly more, but people are going to look at it and have absolutely no idea what it is.
yeah, there was a person, he had asked me a question. He'll probably see this podcast too. He was talking about starting a brand, and he said, what do you think about, starting a company around a novel ingredient that no one has used yet, and bringing that to market? I was like, unless you have a million people that
Yep.
already trust, or not even a million, but I was like, that is, no one's going to care about that. I was
If
like,
a big brand like Ghost or Rise or somebody else did that, it would get attention. But if somebody who literally has nothing else was like, here's this cool ingredient, I'm the first one to do it, nobody's going to see it.
yeah, the coolness factor um, rarely plays out well, because
Right.
then, say, even if you do, that was another thing that came into the brain food idea, was if I make something that's really cool, like I know why companies proprietary blend stuff. I mean, yeah, some companies use it to, scam their customer a little bit, scam. But some people, I get it. Like if you put in all this research and time and experience, I want to protect my formula, or else someone, if you make something that's too popular, someone's just going to come and take it from you,
Mm-hmm.
take the same thing and throw a bunch of marketing behind it. So I was like, with the brain food thing, if a company did want to do that in our space, the product doesn't even really fit in with most brands like portfolios anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So it wouldn't really do them any good. So I was thinking about that as well. Like, because if you see a product do really well, the amount of times I've seen it, brands just rip it off and then they sell their own because it's just,
Mm-hmm.
you might as well. So
Yeah.
I was thinking about that too. I was like, because it's a tough product to pull off, and it doesn't really fit in. I was like, so I think it at least protects you a little bit.
Yeah. I think it's different enough where it gets attention, but I feel like right now we're in this day and age where a lot of people are really learning about nootropics and getting interested in, oh, I like things that make me focus because everybody doesn't know how to focus. So it's like, how can I focus better? Like my mom, when she came and visited me for Thanksgiving, was like, her memory is like we'll have a conversation and the next day it's like we had this conversation yesterday.
Mhm.
So she was like, my memory is terrible. I feel like I can't focus. What can you give me? I was like, come into my office. So I was like, do you want a powder or do you want a capsule? And knowing her, I was like, she's not going to take a powder. So I gave her the capsules and take it every single day. That'll help you, right? And same thing with creatine. I gave her just a plain old creatine powder. Just take it, put it wherever you need to put it, because those things alone will help. But I think today's day and age, people are really focus and brain health and cognitive health, because I don't know, maybe it's just my social media, but I feel like it's just way more out there. Like, because we talk about creatine now, not just with muscle building and strength and power output and ATP, but we now talk about it with, hey, these are the cognitive benefits. Like, hey, it can help with dementia, like all of these different studies.
Mhm. Yeah, and that was it's right. It's a good thing because people know about this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But then I know that's how I felt. I felt like a really big responsibility to manage expectations with the product because there's like I said, I whatever some company wants to do, but when I see brands talk about how they have like uh nature's Adderall type of nootropic approach, like that type of stuff really pisses me off.
You got to be careful with the words that you use, people,
But
because
first of all, it's
it shouldn't
illegal.
be legal to be able to say shit like that.
Yeah, it's not. But also it makes everything that people do in the space, it devalues it
Correct.
because it presents supplements in ways that supplements aren't.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what constantly gives, I think, the supplement space a bad name is the expectations that people go into, like creatine, like the post I made about creatine today. People are like, oh, I take creatine, I get muscular and all sorts of stuff. But I'm like, that just creatine is this thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not this thing over here. So the more people that keep pushing the marketing aspects of, take this because this will fix your focus, and but if it doesn't, then someone takes a product and says, see, supplements are shit and the supplement space is a ripoff. I told you.
Mm-hmm.
But really, it's that's where the whole multivitamin for your brain kind of thing came from, too. I didn't, because I remember a friend of mine, she had tried the product during the sampling. And I literally was like going out of my way to say, this isn't for focus and energy
Right.
because everyone's into smart drugs and like I said, so Adderall and these things, which like I said, it's fine, but that's not what you can't make a supplement like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she hit me up and she was like, so I'm a little worried because you said this isn't for focus. She's like, but I'm like, really, is there something wrong? And I was like, well, no, it's good. I was like, and I just feel uncomfortable presenting things in that way. So then she was like thinking something was wrong because of how much energy she got from taking the samples. And I'm like, this is why nobody makes why would you make a product like this?
Mm-hmm.
Why not just make a pre-workout?
Yep.
Because you're like pre-workout 15 minutes later, did it work? Didn't it work? It sucked. It was awesome. Done.
Yep. People want to feel something from it, whether it be like when I used to work with as a legionnaire for First Form, the biggest thing they would tell us
Oh,
is make sure you sample the protein or the greens. The reason why is you get immediately you feel a difference with the greens over a couple of days because most people will be less bloated, et cetera, so forth. With the protein, it's like, ooh, this is tasty. I want more of it. You're
right.
not going to do that same thing like, hey, here's like a multivitamin packet. Like nobody's going to be like, oh, cool. Like I felt immediately different versus, oh my gosh, I need more of this.
And that was why I think I wanted to get the powder version. Well, the powder version was supposed to have been launched probably like a year ago, but that
That
was
shit,
why.
by the way, that shit tastes like it shouldn't be good for me. Like when I was sampling it, I was like, that's probably gonna have like that, like if you've ever drank a Celsius, it has like that I crushed up a multivitamin flavor in it, kind of like that. I thought that was like the orangey thing I was gonna get from it. Blown away. So well done.
Well, and I think that's the idea behind that was uh, a one pill, no stimulant, brain health kind of thing is it's a tough product to make,
Mm-hmm.
but anybody can take the powder and go, that tastes good. So
Yep.
I'll keep taking it because I'm assuming there's some health benefits here. So it tastes good. It's tasty. I can get behind taste. I don't have to understand brain mechanisms of action to know it tastes good.
Hmm.
That was one of the things that I would love to say this was totally planned out. But really we got pretty lucky too, where um, first of all, when we did the capsule, didn't even really think quercetin's kind of orange, kind of yellow. And it when we got the powder, I was like, well, that was a happy accident. And I'll pretend that was on purpose because it just looks cooler in the bottle when the
Oh,
brand.
totally.
But the ingredients, that was a big thing why there was a lot of like I love Apollon and like a pro, I love Jeff over there. They made nootropics that the formulas were insane, the powder versions, but no one they tasted so bad. And I think Ben over at Morphogen did the same thing with like collagen. It's like no one's gonna drink that.
Yep.
It doesn't matter how beneficial it is. If it doesn't taste good,
There's like a very select few people who are like, I'll just eat whatever. Those are like the people who have like the 5 pound tubs of Vitamin Shop brand, chocolate protein who are like, I don't care how it tastes.
these things are like almost because of the herb.
Yeah.
We
Oof,
use the
those
herb
are tough.
extracts. So we got super lucky. But like I said, I'll say this was totally planned out because the powder itself for brain food, like if you were to empty a capsule into some water, it really doesn't taste like anything. So there was nothing really to cover up. So we didn't have to
Mm.
use. We have a naturally flavored version of it finalized. When there's enough demand for it, I'll launch it. But so we didn't really have to use much sweeteners or flavoring or anything
What
like
are you
that.
using for sweeteners now? That scary sucralose, or what are you doing?
Yes, there's a little
Ooh,
bit of
scary.
sucrose in it. I know, right? It's and the funny thing is, I've not had one person ask me for a naturally flavored
That's
version.
funny. I had somebody comment on a post. I put up a post a really long time ago about Ghost launching their hot cocoa, right? It was like a green screen. And I had somebody commented on it today and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take that sucralose that's gonna ruin my fertility and do all this. And it was a Price Plow post. So Ben obviously is logged into Price Plow and he's just going back and forth with this guy. My phone's blowing up all morning. The guy like posted all these like links because my response was, bro, show me the studies. And he posted these links. First of all, not all of them were studies, some of them were like articles, right? And all of them were done on mice. They weren't even human. And so I feel like there's just the sucralose thing is top of mind where it's just so much fear mongering. This is why misinformation spreads.
Yeah, and to be fair, when I making the brain health type product, I was like, we should have um it just doesn't taste as good. Like I will say, like the
Facts.
naturally flavored one that we finalized, it's really good, but it's not as good as the other one. I think that it was kind of on my mind that we should make a version of this. I don't worry about sucralose or any of the stuff in there, but if you're going to make something for long-term brain health,
Right.
make it an option because a lot of people it will be important for them. I just
Yeah.
haven't run into them yet, so that was why we did it. But I have to order a certain amount to make it make sense, and there just
Yeah.
isn't that many people yet like asking for it. But as long as you're right, if you make it taste good and you get people in the door, and then you kind of customize it a little bit. And then I guess that's like another thing is brand owners, when they make products, one big mistake that I see is like a small brand will make a product. And then if you have a few customers that ask you to make something else, then they try to do that.
Hmm.
And I love the customers and the feedback, but don't do everything that the customers ask you to do. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. This is something that Nick Bear speaks about a lot with BPN, where they had like, they were very bodybuilding focused when he first started, and then they got into the more endurance space, and that's where they've blown up. And they started cutting out some of their more flagship products because they were more focused on like bodybuilding, and people got angry. But the reality is they're growing faster than they've ever grown before because that's just not the people who they serve anymore.
yeah, and there's like I said, you want to serve everyone, but
Right.
A, you can't. But like B, um, people will ask you for the world.
Mm-hmm.
Are they actually going to buy it and stick to it is a whole nother story. And I saw a lot of my friends go through the same thing where it's not that because like people when I launch a product, they're like, oh, is there like other flavors in this? And I was like, no, this is the one you get.
Yep.
Take it or leave it kind of deal.
Yep.
Like eventually you might get to a point where, like I said, you have to order a certain amount that makes sense. And,
Yep.
but also at the same time, I'm like, I don't know if there's another, like, yeah, you want to make cool flavors and make different flavors, but at the same time, where's that breaking point for your brand financially and distribution
Mm-hmm.
wise that it makes sense to make more flavors?
Right. Because if you keep making all these decisions that are pleasing the customer, but then at the end of the day, they're destroying your business financially, then there's not going to be a product to give to that customer anymore.
Yeah, I mean, like if you right, so Ghost comes out with a new energy drink, flavor like this often, and everyone gets all hyped about it. So they're watching Ghost stuff, and then they're coming to my page and be like, "Well, where's your?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm not Ghost." So
Yeah. Go to Ghost. I am not them. Like,
you're who you are, right? Let Ghost do it. Let
yep.
Ghost do all that stuff because
Mm-hmm.
they're taking big risks by doing all this. So anyway, the one other thing that I learned early on from watching other people was, it is good to take feedback obviously from customers and you want to talk to them and it's humbling, but at the same time like customers are also a lot of they're just they'll tell you they want everything because of course you want to walk into Amazon or you want to go on Amazon or Walmart or whatever and have all in one kind of deal because
Mm-hmm.
like that was the other part about the brand is if you were to launch a pre-workout then the natural progression is pre-workout pump protein amino acid fat burner whatever there's a cycle there.
Yep.
You just follow that cycle and then you find something that works or whatever, whereas like this brand like people will ask me like what's next. I'm like a totally new product is not really on my radar at the moment. It's more about how do you make these ones
Mm-hmm.
more accessible for more people because
Yep.
not a lot fits in to what we're doing, like, maybe some creatine or maybe, but there's so many, I'm not going to be able to compete with NutriBio on creatine price,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. So, um, anyway, that's a whole nother tangent about sports nutrition brands and, launching products just because you launch a product because people are going to buy it somewhere. So you want it from you, but do you have enough demand as a brand to have it make sense?
Yep.
And I'm like,
Yeah. And that's kind of like the same thing as like the amount of times where like I'll post an energy drink video of like a brand that's not really found in a lot of places, like A Bomb Energy. First of all, if you're an orange cream guy, you have to try their orange cream meltdown. It's the best I've ever had. A
really?
Bomb. Mm-hmm. I put it up against all of these different ones. So good. Um,
Okay.
and the guy Brandon, he's really great guy. But people ask, oh, well, I can't find this anywhere. Why can't they, bring it here or there? And I'm just like, that's just not how it works. Like a natural progression is like eventually we will be in more places, but it's not just like he snaps his fingers and says, now we're in Walmart. It's not like it needs to make sense.
Yeah, because I never really drank energy drinks much. I still really don't, just because I love pre-workout and I
I
love
get that. You have to pick and
coffee.
choose. You can't have it all. You
Yeah.
can, but your adrenals will not like that.
I love coffee, uh, and I love pre-workout. So the energy drinks were always, but also that was years back. I'm like, well, energy drinks are literally just flavored caffeine.
Truth.
Now at least because I remember we got to do the ghost reveal. That was really cool. That was the first time I really got a chance to talk to Dan. But it was me and Ben and then Jacob from TNS. We were doing a podcast together, and Dan
Oh,
sent
you
us
know Jacob?
Jacob from TNS. Oh, he's one of the reasons why I moved down here. Yeah.
That's funny. He used to date one of my best friends for like hot minute, like the hottest of minutes.
Nice. Yeah. Well, we did a podcast together, like supplement industry related, and Dan sent us the Ghost Citrus, and we got to like debut it.
That's so cool.
It was pretty cool. And when I saw the formula, it's kind of funny too because when I saw the formula, I was like, and I know like so Dan he's a huge supplement nerd.
Oh yeah, he is. Every podcast I listen to, I'm like, oh
Huge.
Dan, chill, bro. Everybody's listening, and it's like,
But it's a perfect example of a why you doesn't matter like how much you know about all this stuff, like you still got to package it in a way that makes sense like for your customers.
right?
Ghost has always had like some of their latest products, the formulas were really cool. um but when I saw that they were going to do an energy drink and I saw the formula, I was like, that's awesome. But I remember thinking, I was like, no one's going to care.
Yeah,
No one's going to get this. And I was like, I'm really excited for you guys, but I also didn't know all the connections that Dan had with like or Ghost with distribution and all this. So
yeah,
it was a very well thought out plan. But when I saw the product itself, I was like, no one's going to pay more because it's got neurofactor and alpha GPC and carnitine in it than Monster. I was like, it's just not. I was like, this is probably not going to work.
yeah. It's like as cool as this seems, probably won't work. And then Ghost is like, hold my beer.
Yeah, literally. So I was like, okay, I've never been more because when I first saw them, I got really excited. I was like, finally, an energy drink that
Yeah,
I can support. So I was screaming it from the mountaintops. Like, I want everyone to see that we can make a cooler energy drink than what was out there. But I was like, this isn't going to work.
yeah.
So,
And you know what the best part about Ghost, I think, is like I love their formula personally, but I know that so many people that I talk to, as I post energy drink stuff, a lot of people don't care about the formula.
nobody
They're
cares.
just like, Ghost is the best tasting.
Nobody
And
cares.
that's where they got him. It's like the formula is amazing, but most people, first of all, they look at it and the branding is really cool. So if you're looking at this on a shelf versus like anything else, you're like, oh, that's cool. That stands out. Let me grab that. You take a sip of it and it tastes exactly like what it says. Winner. Then it's like, cool, the formula is nice.
Yeah, and that was another thing that I thought about when making brain food was it's almost like a supplement
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of people where I was like, I want people to understand that it's good by itself, but if you take it with your Ghost or something, or if you take it with your Morphogen product or your first form product, like you can do all of that. It's stackable basically with anything. And I thought that was an important part of the process too, because now you don't have to pick brand
Yeah.
versus brand versus brand. It's like, well, I can take this, and as long as I keep the cost down, with the capsule product, I wanted like one capsule, $1 a day, roughly, kind of thing. People were like, oh, I could do that, and I could fit it in with my. But it's like the people that I would see in the nootropic space that come in and they say this. They go, "Here's your. This is better than coffee. This is better than an energy drink." I'm like, dude, no one's asking for that.
Right. Everybody likes their coffee and their energy drink.
Right.
That's like there's this person who sent me, I won't name brands, but sent me his energy pouches, right? Like that he put under the lip. Not a fan of that. So I was like, I'll talk about it. And that's it. I'm not going to try it because I don't want it.
Yeah.
And my biggest thing was nobody's asking for this. Like it's different, but nobody's going to say, "Ooh, I'm going to take this pouch instead of my coffee or my energy drink." Because caffeine is more than just a feeling to people. It's a ritual. It's like I look forward to cracking open my energy drink or brewing my cup of coffee every morning. If I
Yeah.
put something between my lips, it's not the same thing.
Right. And that's when that's what I was showing, because that's the other thing with supplements is it's so unique for so many people. You have to give people sort of a blueprint, because it's like uh so what I was doing was I would have brain food in my coffee every morning.
Yeah.
Like, this is how I take it, do this. But don't be afraid to take it at a different point of day, or because it might not be best for you same time. But I wanted people to understand too, I don't want to replace your coffee. Nobody did. Coffee is like the biggest business there is. Like,
Yeah.
no one is saying, please give me something other than coffee. I want something to go with my coffee now. And then there's a lot of people that were making like functional nootropics that you could put like in your coffee and mix it together. But I get that, and I think it's obviously been a successful idea for a lot of people. But people kind of like to flavor their coffee and make their coffee the way they like it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I was like, here's a capsule to take and then you drink your coffee the way you like it. I don't want to mess with your process, you know.
Yeah, because like for a lot of people, it's like, don't fuck with my coffee. Like, don't play with that. That is my like. It's sometimes it's like people start the day with it for a reason. It's like the best way to start the day, whether it be an energy drink or a coffee. So I think it's genius that you were like, how can I stack this so that it's not replacing something?
Right. Yeah. I'm like, I'm not trying to that. I just see that. I think that's maybe I think it's the wrong approach because of how strongly I feel about it. But
I don't think you're alone though. I definitely
yeah,
feel the same way.
when I see people trying to replace institutional things like coffee and energy drinks, I'm like, no, we're not trying to do that because why would you do that anyway? Like, why would you fight against that, uphill battle?
Facts. So I want to finish with the one question that we got. So we got, I can't remember who sent it to me, but he asked, do you think that the supplement space, social media, like content creators, is too saturated for a new person to start? So I wanted to hear your take on this since you've been in it for so long.
Yeah, I think that it's an awesome question.
I agree.
Because I think there's I'll try to keep this under an hour.
Starting the clock.
Well, people say the same thing about the supplement space. They go,
Mm-hmm.
it's too saturated. It's not too saturated. It's just really competitive
Yeah.
because there is new people coming into this space by in droves. And so
Mm-hmm.
you have all these new people coming in. So it's definitely not too saturated. It just is going to be extremely difficult to I like when I looked at your profile the other day, like we just met each other what like a few months ago, probably or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, she has like 7,000 posts. You know what I mean? I was like, but I just now like came across that's just how it works.
Right.
So if you're not willing to, because a lot of people go, well, I'll go in, it's like the gym. Like, well, I'll go
Yeah.
in and I'll try it. But if it doesn't work, you have to do it because you really believe in like doing it
Yeah.
where
Yep.
you want to do because you're probably especially these days with the way like the algorithms work and the way organic traffic is totally different. I don't pay any attention to any of that stuff, but you do know that years ago it was much easier for you to reach new people,
Oh my gosh. So much easier.
which is good and bad because
Right.
my content's not for everyone, and
Oh.
I just have to tell people to get lost less often now. But it's gonna be really hard to do it. So you have to really have an important why,
Mm-hmm.
and also like in my experience, my why about the whole thing it's evolved, but the concept, the why has never changed. Like
Yeah.
how it's gone about, the content's changed, and like my perspective on things. But just really coming on there like every day, you have to be consistent. And me going on every single day because I can't control what everyone else is saying out there. And I stopped trying to be the supplement police and content police a long time ago because it's just a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
But at least I know like why I'm saying things and I can control that. So I would say the same thing every day on social media, whether I had one person following me or 10 million, or if likes weren't a thing and if shares and reposts weren't a thing, I would still say the same things.
Yep.
So I think the further you get away from that, it gets even more difficult. But anyway, long story short, I think there's plenty of room for more people to come into the space. It's definitely not saturated. Although there
Mm-hmm.
isn't a ton of topics to necessarily talk about, there's always room for people and some kind of their own perspective on things.
Mm-hmm. I think kind of the biggest point there is finding purpose in what you're doing and not just doing it because like, oh, well, I see, you know, these people are doing it and they're getting all these likes and shares and they're getting free stuff from supplement companies and I want that. Okay, well, is that a strong enough why to get you to make the video when you're emotionally drained and don't want to make the video and you have to like turn it on and be smart and talk and be who you want to be and who and help who you want to help because
Yeah,
there are going to be times where you just don't want to make another video. You just want to go chill on the couch, but you know that you don't have anything to post tomorrow and you have to be consistent. That's just part of it. So I think finding purpose in what you're doing, like I fucking love creating content. And sometimes if I get overwhelmed and stressed by it, I'll look at it as I am so blessed to be able to work in this and like and be able to work on supplement, do all these fun things because it's fun. I could be sitting behind a desk typing my life away. But
Yeah.
if you find purpose in it and understand that there are so many people in this world that are on social media, some people prefer my videos over like some other creators' videos, and the same thing's going to be going to this individual. If you start creating videos, people are going to fall in love with who you are, so long as you are who you are.
Well, and even that was perfectly said. Like, first of all, I totally agree with everything. But like, one thing that I would add to that is
Mm-hmm.
one thing I've heard from people a lot that was always kind of eye-opening was, people don't really like the sound of their own voice.
My husband says that all the time because he's starting to make YouTube videos. And he's like, I hate the sound of my voice.
Well, you know what? And I get that because I think I was probably like that at one point. I remember I went back to college later in life. And I remember being the typical person like scared to death to do your speeches and all this other stuff.
Yep, me
I
too.
eventually I do like the social media stuff. Um, it sounds like super arrogant to say, but like if you know, you know. My favorite person to listen talk to about content is myself, and not because I think my information is the best or I'm the best at all this. I just through the process of social media and talking and hearing my own voice and understanding me as a person or whatever, and interacting with people, I really went from a person, that struggled with the same mental things as a lot of people, to loving the sound of your own voice. And when
Mm-hmm.
you do that, and you can do that through social media, yes, there's some people out there that are crazy weirdo people. I've dealt with lots of them, but it's overwhelmingly positive. But like if
Mm-hmm.
you go onto social media and just start recording stuff and just put it out there, and listen to yourself and get to know yourself, like I would, I like to help people, but also the amount of value, as cliche as this is to say, the amount of value I got from me personally through doing content every day on social media is, I mean, it's been life changing because I'm like, wow, okay, yes, you do have things to say. You love the sound of your own voice and you love your own brain like that. It's a pretty powerful concept. And then next thing
Mm-hmm.
you know, you're like, what am I worried about
Yep.
out there?
And
Like,
that just comes with that experience of actually doing it
right.
and watching your content evolve. Because I know for myself, if I go back like even a few months ago and I watch a video, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe
Oh,
I posted this. And I feel like if you're not cringing at your old content, then you're doing something wrong, you know?
yeah.
So like if you went back, like I've done over 300 episodes of this podcast, but if you went back to episode 1, you'd be like, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
who
That
is this
sounds so
person?
ridiculous. Yeah.
And that's why it's just so important to just create the content and post it. Just post it. Like don't think about, oh, it's not perfect, it doesn't have the lighting or angles or mics, or just
Let it
post
rip.
it.
Yeah. Like
It'll evolve.
I remember when I was making the original version of the app and I saw that quote, someone was like, yeah, if you don't look back at your first creation and you're not mortified, then you're not doing right. And I remember like we were making this app and I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. I was like, so I'm like, well, I don't feel that way because that first version of the app, it was mortifying
Mm-hmm.
compared to like the evolution or they were 100% right. So
Yep.
yeah, it's gonna suck. Like whatever you do at first, probably gonna suck.
Yeah. And you might get like 3 views, but
Yeah,
who
do it
cares?
anyway.
Like, and also on that note, so many people will be like, oh, I only got 100 views. I'm like, that's 100 people who watched your shit. Like
Yeah,
that. Think of that in a room of people. That's a lot of people. And
yeah,
it's cool to watch it grow because I know when I first posted my like there's this one creator, his name is Rico something. Anyway, he's a social media content guru. Um, and he says you're one video away from your life changing. And that's something that he says that is 100% true.
that
The amount
is.
of times where I'll post a video and all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, this video has 100,000 views. That's crazy. And the video before that had 1,000 views. You don't know what could happen. The algorithm could just be like, cool, I'll throw this person a bone today.
Yeah, because I did years back. I did a video. It was on my 40th birthday, and I talk about this all the time. I did a video. I won't go into the whole story because it's just too much stuff, but I did a video. It was about suicide and mental health, and it was about my experience with it. And I
Mm-hmm.
recorded it for myself, um, not for social media. And I said,
Mm-hmm.
you know what, screw it. I'm just going to put this out there. And I did because I also don't, another thing, I don't like when people use like the mental health thing clearly as an engagement tool and stuff. It's just so cringe. But if you do it that, so anyway, I put it out there, and literally from that day for the next like 5 years, like life has totally changed. Like as far as the people that I've met, the experiences I've had, it really is true. Like, uh, you are one basically thing away, but it can just manifest in totally different ways. Like depends on what your goal is, like with the whole thing. If you're doing it for yourself, if you're doing it to enrich your own life, I think that's a good way to kind of start too.
Absolutely. I love that so much. And I think that's a great way to end it. But Justin, tell the people where they can find you and all your stuff.
Yeah, so on Instagram, it's at Supplement Snoop, and then at MyQ Brain Food. I don't really do much on TikTok. I do every now and then. I remember once in a while I'll remember to go over there, but I prefer Instagram.
Me too.
And I just don't have the energy for all the different platforms. But yeah, at Supplement Snoop, at MyQ Brain Food, myqbrainfood.com is the site. And like if you ever go on the site and you're chatting and asking questions, that's me. If you ever reach out to any of the accounts or brands or anything at the same time, it's going to be me because I don't want anyone else answering questions for me.
Hell yeah. I love that. Authentic, very rare now. And I'll put all that info down below so you guys can find Justin, try his stuff. And go out today and do one thing that's going to take you one step closer to where you want to be.
Amen to that.